I'm gonna call the meeting to order, and we have a guest, but before we do, do we have a quorum, Nora? I think we do.
We're 7, right?
5? Really?
7?
How many do we have?
6.
We have 12 members, right?
12, divided by 2 members.
Do we have a quorum?
7, right?
That's 7.
Okay, you all got a copy of the minutes on the last meeting, which September 25th. So I need a motion to okay the minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a guest.
2 guests.
2 guests. I'm sorry.
Right.
Most of you know Phyllis Fields. That's right. I don't
Know that lady.
Donna Sozio. Donna Sozio.
Phyllis is one active in the community.
She is.
She's on
Great lady.
a lot of communities in also. And her topic tonight is as I indicated in my stigma-free Franklin, and how we as the HRC assist in fighting mental health. So any personal story can be powerful and convincing. So I asked them to make a presentation, and then we'll have time for questions and answers. So the floor is yours.
Great. Okay. So Donna Sozio, who's with me tonight, is a mental health advocate, consumer, volunteer extraordinaire.
Oh, thank you.
She started this Franklin Township Stigma-Free Council got underway with a first meeting in February, and Donna has been there from day one, and she's done amazing, really, really working very hard. Pete Clark has also has helped us and been involved. So I was thinking about it, and you know what? I said, I'm going to start from the beginning. I'll try to be succinct and not go too long, because Donna's here to tell you her personal story, but I just want to introduce a little bit about this. Professionally, I am a licensed clinical social worker, which means that I am licensed to practice psychotherapy in New Jersey. Currently, I'm retired. I still have my license, but I'm not seeing anyone. About 3 or 4 years ago, I started serving on the county mental health board. And in the process of doing that, I started learning about stigma from who was at the time Meg Ispitsky, the county mental health administrator. And I couldn't believe it that as a therapist, and a social worker, all these years, I hadn't understood the power of stigma to keep people from seeking the help they need. So there's so little we have control over. It's very hard to access help. It's very hard to have everyone receive the same quality of help because of insurance or not having the ability to pay for private therapists. And so a lot of these things are out of our control. But the one thing I realized we can do something about is raising awareness, education, and hopefully countering a decreasing stigma. So what is stigma? Stigma is a label of shame associated with a membership or characteristic, such as mental health or substance use disorders. Might be due to race, social class, income, intellectual or developmental disability status. Stigma is one of the main reasons why people who need help don't receive it. Now this little brochure, and I have some, if you think you could truly use it or you would share the info with someone, I encourage you to take them. They are printed by our county Department of Human Services, and Donna has made several trips over there to pull more brochures from the county so we can have what we need. But Meg Ispitsky was pretty key in creating this. So I'll just share a few facts with you. 1 in 4 people live with a diagnosable mental health condition or substance use disorder. Mental health affects all kinds of people, regardless of age, gender, race, religion, sexuality, income bracket, or life experience. Less than half seek help due to stigma, lack of knowledge, cost, and availability. Use this guide as a starting point for your own research and reference. It includes crisis hotlines, etc. So just a few basic facts, right, about why is this important. The other piece I want to tie this into is that the Mayor's Health and Wellness Campaign, which was completed about a year ago, and the results were shared, one of the top areas, or one of the 3 or 4 areas that were identified as problems in our community, people identified their mental health difficulty accessing treatment, difficulty knowing where to go for help. Our aging population said that they were dealing with anxiety, and it's a very well-known fact that for teens, and really for everyone, and not completely understood, but anxiety disorders have really been going up among youth. And I have to say we're really lucky in New Jersey. We have far better services here in New Jersey than many places across the country. We have many more resources than people across the country. Just a little side, one of the women on the mental health board, her great-nephew died of suicide about 7 months ago in Georgia, and they were struggling to find any support for the family, whereas here we have a lot of different agencies that would step in and try to help. One thing I think that's also very important to realize, and this really pertains to your Human Relations Commission, is that people of different races and cultural backgrounds do not seek help across the board evenly, okay? So, and some of this is from like CDC and different sources of information. But among adults who report fair or poor mental health, white adults, 50%. So just think, for somebody with poor mental health, maybe 1 out of 2 white adults have sought help in the last year or two before that. Among our Black community, it's about 39%. Our Latino community, 36%. And I don't have the exact kind of percentage, but also our South Asian individuals are very reluctant to seek help. And the main reason because of this is because of stigma, taboo, that if someone finds out, if there's, it's a source of shame, and certain, communities have really kind of put the message out there, be tough, you can handle this, you don't need a shoulder or anything, you should be able to handle this on your own, and keep it a secret. Don't let anybody know outside the family. So it's a problem for everyone, but it's even more of an issue for certain communities than others. With that said, I asked Donna if she would tell you about her life experience, because I heard this really at the Board of Education meeting last April, when she went and spoke to our local board about this powerful problem and asking them to pass a resolution to try to create a culture in our schools which is free of stigma. And after they heard her, I've been asking for a year. I was like, please, can somebody can we get this happening? Yeah, we'll get to it, yeah. She spoke, and that night they were like, we'll make this happen next month, and May they passed that resolution. So feel free to share.
Okay, where do I begin? I guess I should begin when I was a child. I remember being around 6 or so, and my family, specifically my elder sisters, who are 7 and 9 years older than me, noticed a difference. They saw that I was very depressed. I stayed by myself. I cried a lot. There was an anger that I had when I played with my dolls. I mean, I would go like this. And there was something wrong. And so my mother approached my father, and my father said, no, I'm not going to get our daughter the help that she needs. I'm not going to be embarrassed, with this, with my employer. I'm not going to let our neighbors know what's going on. I'm not going to let our social circles know this. So I didn't get the help. And I got worse as I got older. And at the age of 17, my mother had just had enough. And she got me some help with a pastor. And unfortunately, he was good to talk to, but he could not prescribe medication for me because I was depressed. I mean, it was clinical depression. There was no doubt. And my mother begged my father to have me seek help, professionally. He just refused because of the stigma. And I realize now that if I had gotten that help, if I had gotten that medication, my life could have been so much better. Instead of surviving, I could have been living. Instead of wanting to end my life at the age of 14, I wouldn't have had any thought of that. I mean, we know there are statistics that show that a 5-year-old commits suicide because of depression. A 5-year-old. Can you imagine that? Being a 5-year-old child and being so sad and feeling so hopeless that their only alternative is to die, to just end their life. I just couldn't imagine it. But I did imagine it at 14 and subsequently as I got older. We're going to fast forward to when I found out that I did have a mental health diagnosis. And that was in my mid-30s. And that, when I found out, it was as though the world came tumbling down. And I didn't know what hit me. And I wanted to commit suicide once again. Because I didn't have anything. I didn't have any kind of coping skill. I knew my father was totally against trying to get me the help. I knew my mother was for getting me the help. But at this point, when there's a diagnosis, your family doesn't know what to do. And so your family, as well as your own self, has to rely upon these doctors and hope that they know what's best. Well, I can tell you, once I got out of the hospital, and here again, I was only in the hospital for 4 weeks because that's what insurance allowed. And that was one of the better insurance companies.
That's a long time
Yeah.
now compared.
So, and I was a child when I got out. I was physically an adult, but mentally, I was a child. And so what did I learn when I was in the hospital? I learned that my roommate was a cutter, which means that she would go and cut her veins with either a scissor or a razor. The first time that I saw that, I ran out of the room and ran into a closet, and they had to find me because I was so scared. I suffered more trauma than what my condition resolved. I did not understand why I was even there. Because I said, I don't cut. I didn't even know what that meant. And I learned so many things that were frightening to me. That would have been frightening to you, but I saw it firsthand. And I didn't understand. I said, I don't belong here. But yet I was put here. And luckily I was put there voluntarily because it would have been even worse. So I was like a caged animal. And I did not know how I was going to survive it because I did not have the tools. And I would cry to my parents, and I would cry to my sisters, and I would cry to my husband at the time. I don't understand what's going on. I said, now I have a diagnosis so that we figured out, yes, indeed, all along, my father should have gotten me the help, so that was validated. But to be put in that situation was heart-wrenching to everybody because my family needed a support system. I needed a support system. And you had so much stigma around all of it that it was a disaster in the making. So here I thought I was getting the help, and that's what my family thought. And I came out needing even additional help. because I didn't understand what was going on with me. And I was like a 5-year-old. And here I was, you know, in my mid-30s, and I felt as though I was 5, like, what do I do, Mommy? I don't understand. And because of my physical abuse from my ex-husband, and the verbal abuse, and the emotional abuse, they said, don't go back home. So let's fast forward to going through my divorce. Well, when I went through my divorce, being that I had kids, they said, no, we're going to have you in supervised visitation. And I asked the judge, do you think I would murder my children? Do you think I would hurt my children? Well, we have to be careful. Again, I wanted to commit suicide. Wouldn't you, if somebody had you be in supervised visitation just because you have a diagnosis of mental health issues? That was the only reason. There was nothing else that they would consider. It didn't matter that I had glowing references, that I loved children, that I had done, I was the one that got my son the help that he needed for his ADHD. They didn't know. I was the one that put him in the I got him diagnosed at the hospital. It didn't matter what I did as a human being. As soon as I got diagnosed, my life changed. And so I remember hearing that, and I ran out of the courtroom. I was wearing heels, I threw them off, and I ran as fast as I could and as far away from that courthouse as I could. And my mother, who was elderly, she was a lot older than the typical parent, and my father, they tried to run after me, but they couldn't catch me. And they had the police looking for me. This is what stigma is like for someone like me. Now, fast forward, throughout my mid-30s to, I'm now 67, I was in a lot of denial. And then my father did eventually come around and say, hey, this is just like diabetes, or this is just like, a physical condition. I laughed at him. I said, no, it's not, because I had judges, I had people just like you judge me without even knowing anything about me. Just saying, hey, you have this, you're no good. So why would I want to live when I have people telling me just based on my having a mental health disorder, I'm not any good? It was only until I came a year ago almost to you that I realized that I had something worthwhile, that I had a place that people cared about me, that I found comfort, that I felt that I actually did have something to live for. But can you imagine being at the age of 66 and younger, feeling as though you didn't deserve any type of happiness, that you didn't deserve any type of equality? I lived it, and I still can't imagine what it was like, because I blocked it out. It was so horrifying that that's what I used to cope. I blocked everything out. And I'm telling you that the Stigma Free Council saved me. I truly, truly mean that. And it's not because Phyllis is sitting here. She knows how I feel, and Stephanie knows how I feel. To be heard as an equal, that is so gratifying. To be able to do outreach. We are doing a badge with the Girl Scouts in regards to a stigma-free. We're incorporating one of their badges. We've gotten, as Phil said, we've gotten to have a public school district that is stigma-free.
At least they've embraced it. It's still a work in progress, right? To carry that out in this.
How is it handled in the school system now?
What's that?
How is it handled in the school system?
Well, I don't know that I have the answer to that question, right?
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say, I don't know either.
But what I can say is that the school districts have, and the requirements in the law are very clear that students who are, certainly if there might be a possible of danger to themselves or someone else, there's a very clear protocol of what has to happen. And our district our public schools, I don't know about the private or charter schools, are very, I think, thorough about referring kids to the psychiatric emergency screening services in Somerville. They have therapists who are working in our schools that are actually in contract with our psychiatric emergency screening services. So I think Franklin, in that regard, they have to realize either a child or a teen or someone, a teacher, has to clue in the counselor, the student assistance counselor or a guidance counselor that I think this child might be in danger, or he said this to me, or she said this. And now they've even got, the state put on another requirement, which went into effect about a year ago, that if there's any drawing, writing, something that might suggest a possible threat either to self or others, that like there's a whole committee that has to is this a high concern situation? Is it a low concern? And get help for the young person. So I think in that right. But in terms of stigma, like that sense of, is it okay to talk to others? Is it okay to say I need help? I don't think that's really yet incorporated in the school of promoting that idea. It was to their credit that they heard Donna's story and they were like, yeah, we will embrace this. So
It's a start.
yeah, but I think that that's still a work in progress. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
I want to just give you a little extra background of when did stigma-free kind of become a thing, right? And I think I have one of my papers here that if not, I can do it from memory. But it's actually in 2005 that New Jersey's first had a governor's council on mental health stigma. And I think Cody was governor then. And if you remember, Governor Cody was very passionate and committed to talking about mental illness and making services available to people. So the state kind of, got started then. National Alliance for Mental Illness at the national level. 2014, they kind of became really active. 2017, Somerset County initiated and did the pledge to be a stigma-free county, and then they encouraged each municipality to do the same thing. And in Franklin, 2022, our town council passed the resolution to encourage and try to, create a stigma-free Franklin. And like I said, the mayor's health and wellness campaign really also helped push that kind of along. And Safi Callan, who's our special projects manager, was very supportive about this. The mayor has been extremely supportive because he is very open about, he has family members with mental health issues. He's, as a neurologist, he sees, very often he would see people in need of services. So then, our council started meeting last February. I would have liked to have started earlier, but Safi had to finish up that mayor's health and wellness campaign, which was such a huge project. So
Tell us some of the things that we've done.
I will. I will.
We've done quite a bit.
Yeah. So what I did was I am going to I think I have enough here. I wrote up what our council has come up with in terms of a vision for a stigma-free Franklin and our mission. Let me get one there. Sorry. And you can, read that out. Yeah, see, I think I have the same one here. So, our vision is very grand, right? We want to see, I pledged to work toward making Franklin Township, or is that the, can I see your copy just a second? Thanks, Linda. Oh, yeah. I didn't have the right. Franklin Township is a community in which all residents, regardless of health or ability status, experience validation and support from other residents, entities within the township, and the resources to foster physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being are available to all without barriers Just imagine if we could make that happen. Residents know how and where to access help when needed, and there isn't any fear or shame in seeking help. And then the mission is very similar to that, reducing the stigmas associated with mental illness and substance use disorder, dedicated to creating an inclusive culture where residents feel supported, knowledgeable about where and how to seek treatment, and resources are available to all. Clearly, this isn't going to happen overnight. How can you help? So what came across to me when I went to the county mental health stigma-free conference was this idea of being an ambassador, whether or not you are signing a pledge. It's not to me so important to sign a pledge or not. What it is, it's about being able to know what stigma is, to realize that people may be afraid to seek help because of it, and that you are someone who might be able to say, you know what, there's no shame. If you need help, go for it. Too many people suffer too long without getting the help they need. And so, stop feeling like you have to be the tough guy or gal and, do something that'll help yourself. So that's what I think, right? And it's being an educator on your own of making people aware. Be empathic to others. Allow for people who need support to know you'll listen to them. You don't have to listen to somebody for an hour, but if somebody's obviously looking really upset or, agitated, you might, say, you look I see you looking very upset right now. Do you need some help? Is there anything I can do? Can I call someone? Being willing to listen a little bit. Refer someone. If there's a crisis, 988 is the new hotline. It's been in existence for almost a year and a half now. Pretty soon there will be mobile outreach teams that will follow up with people who call, text, or chat. So if you have someone who is, not a phoner, but they're like, well, maybe I could, use chat. If someone is not in a crisis, but they don't know where to turn, we now have the county behavioral health systems navigator, Stephanie Billets. And again, if you think this would be useful to have, I will, take one, pass it along. They're a little crinkly because Franklin Day we had so much rain, and rather than just throw out papers that are a little crinkled, I pressed them to try to salvage them. But Stephanie Billets will help to find people assistance, therapy. Today I called her and asked her, or emailed her and said, I know a family member who's looking for additional services, and she sent me several good suggestions. And then Richard Hall Community Mental Health is our county. There's one other county-funded mental health center in New Jersey. It's a very small one. I think it's in near Scotch Plains, Fanwood. And so we're very unusual to have Richard Hall Mental Health available for us. Franklin residents, unfortunately, don't access this to the extent that they should be. Last year, I think 92 people visited Richard Hall Mental Health. We have 70,000 residents. 1 in 5 are in need, may have a need, and we are getting 90 some people to Richard Hall. So as you can see, our community is not getting full use of Richard Hall, and that's another little side issue of mine that sometime I hope to make progress with. And then informal, like you can use Psychology Today or Good Therapy. Those are sites that if you're on your computer, you could look up. But therapists pay to advertise on those sites. And some therapists don't need to pay to advertise. So it doesn't mean every therapist in Franklin Township is going to be on Psychology Today. But it can bring up a profile. There are specialties. You can do a filter for which types of insurance they accept. And so it's very useful in that regard, those two. And then lastly is we're having a big event for teens and their parents on November 20th at the Community Senior Center. It's being funded by the Municipal Alliance for Prevention of Substance Abuse grant that comes down from the governor. Our Turn to Talk. It's going to feature a film, a young adult speaker who will talk about his or her journey in dealing with mental illness and recovery. And we're going to have food. It's hard to get teens to come to the Community Senior Center on a weeknight sometimes. But please, if you have any youth groups or teens with whom you're in touch, really, I encourage you to take that and try to promote it as much as you can, help us out in that regard. And we're reaching out to the charter schools and the private schools as well. Would you help in any, if you could help?
Yeah.
That would be great. What school do you go
I
to?
go to Franklin High School.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Have you Board of Education to the
Present it, yeah. We worked really hard. Valerie Northey, I don't know if you know her, but she worked very hard to get this date set up. We must have changed the date 3 times. We just found out that there is a bullying prevention program on the same night being held at it's for middle school and high school students. However, everybody's not going to go, especially maybe our high school students. They're not going, I don't know if they'll come to this either, but anyway, there is a conflict and that we cannot change the date, unfortunately. So we would normally they would really be playing it up for us, but because they've got a program going the same night, we can't do that. So I'm looking at our private.
Yesterday, Phyllis, I announced it to the council.
Oh, good. That was good. I can check that off the list.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I'm doing that.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, Sappy already put this in, that was an old thing. What have we been doing? So we meet on the third Wednesday of the month. Anybody's welcome, adults are welcome to come to this presentation also. You might find it interesting and informative, or might say, wow, I want to bring that to my church or my house of worship. It's by a really good group called Mind in Your Mind. So we're on the third Wednesday of the month, we've been having meetings. We have committees that are doing outreach, and Donna and Pete have been at tables at health fairs and back to school nights and promoting, sharing. We have all kinds of, some swag, information to go out.
You're on the Interfaith Council also.
Yeah, I know, and I think Sonia Red is going to try to send that out. But I'm actually hand delivering. I started hand delivering these to a couple churches today because I wonder how much whether the email goes
And
this
we
way.
have
that
on
way.
the table as well outside.
That's great. But we're trying to educate, raise awareness. Anything you've mentioned this fact that she's got this initiative to create a badge where the girls will come in and learn about what stigma is and how you might help somebody. And
We're going to get
we're doing a lot. Parents, we're going to try to do more parent education. Mr. Tibbs, yes.
Any question, Johnny?
Yes, I do. I was listening very intently to Miss Donna here. I was listening very intensely to Miss Donna and what she was saying, and was critiquing what she was saying and how I felt about any type of medical correctness that could have been available to her during that particular time as she was going through the episodes in which she was going through. And I was wondering myself if social media nowadays, what kind of effect that would have had on her back in her days that she was going through, the things that her trauma that she was going through, and what kind of effect as that person that went through the social media aspect in which she wasn't available to her, and what that person would look like at her age now. Now, one of the things that I live in a senior citizen building, and there's a lot of people in that building that has probably not went through what you went through, but they had social media
Right.
to go to try to help them get through that whole thing, which wasn't available to you. And what point is that person today? And I'm telling you now, there is a normal, I don't like to use the word stigma, but because that everybody in my building has bipolar. And I was wondering what kind of effect that your illness, what would it cause, what is it called now after a person has gone through the whole social media aspect over the years in which you are the age of now? And what kind of effect is Is it now being called bipolar?
Sounds like
Oh,
you have
yeah.
two
But I'm
questions.
asking you that, I'm trying to,
Yes.
Two
you
different
understand, you understand what I'm
questions
saying?
about bipolar illness, and are you willing to share that?
Yeah, it's still called bipolar.
She has bipolar illness.
Okay, so I was correct in my analysis.
Yeah, that's one
One of them,
type,
yes.
like you
Yeah,
might
I
have.
mean,
That being that I was at a building where it's a normal thing there.
Yeah, somebody might have schizophrenia. There's a whole book about like this thick called the Diagnostic Statistic
So
Manual.
I understand.
And there are many different types of mental illness issues, which
Yes.
might just be my house burned down. And it has been so traumatic that I developed an adjustment disorder. Like I am suffering from depression now. I'm suffering from, and I never had those problems, but because of the level of that trauma and disruption, now that's one of the best, that's very short term. If you get some good supportive therapy, counseling, or now that might be something minister or pastor could help with, right? But it's sort of like early intervention. It's, as Donna, I think what part of your point was, if people had intervened or gotten her the help much earlier, she wouldn't have had such a long, torturous journey getting to the point where she is today. And also, she doesn't give herself enough credit because she says this stigma-free counsel has changed her dramatically. I know it's been a big part,
It has.
but she's also doing therapy things and group and has learned coping skills and strategies and follows her medication plan. So,
Well, Miss Donna, I think we all applaud you.
yeah, she's
What
really good at
you have done.
on the social media piece, there are two things. There are people out there who are saying TikTok and all the Instagram is bad for our youth, right? And it's terrible. But there's also evidence that shows it can help kids feel more connected.
Yes,
That if
that's
you,
basically
you want them to get connected to the good stuff, right? But it's not so cut and dry. Just it's all bad, and we shouldn't allow kids to have that. It's a much more complicated story, and the answers aren't all out there. But it can help kids to get to a helpful situation. Hopefully, they're just not getting to some of the awful dark stuff with, 49 ways how to kill yourself, that kind of thing.
And
So-
we also had talked about social media, but I think because it is a township, and
Getting our word out,
it's difficult. But we've thought about social media, but it is very difficult because you have to be
Yes,
so,
it is.
you have to be so
imagine.
careful.
You know what the township, like Facebook pages and things like that, there's a lot of there's a page now on the township website. If you do a search for stigma-free Franklin, there is a page, and I can post something on residents of historic Franklin on Facebook, so if there's an event or a meeting come up, I've done that. But yeah, you could easily, we don't have a nonprofit in Franklin Township. We don't have Jewish Board of Family and Children's Services. We don't have something that a lot of communities have, which is that agency that kind of like said, overarching, looking what are the needs. We have churches that are doing a lot. First Baptist Church, Lincoln Gardens. We have county services, kind of, sort of. Food Bank is now going to have some people kind of like this navigator person who's going to help people at the food bank to access services. But it could easily, Safi could make this a full-time job and hire 4 people. And of course, we can't do that. So be quiet.
Okay, thank you.
I'm about to go through the same thing she's going through. I don't have SCAP no more. SCAP done moved to Manville. Yes, I'm sorry.
So there is a great nonprofit organization called the Center for Great Expectations. I'm sure you probably have
I'm well
heard.
aware of that.
And right now, I understand they are helping 500 women and their children. And they have actually, I was in their gala a couple of days ago,
Nice.
and it was just amazing what they do.
Yeah.
Really. So they have a free information reception on November 7th. And they are right here around the corner, 19B Delwood Lane, it's just off the Mott Lane.
Yeah.
And the program starts at 11:45 with lunch, followed by a tour, and they talk about their program.
Right.
So
They're phenomenal. I'm not saying
Yeah.
we don't have anything, but they focus on pregnant women with addiction problems. And that's wonderful, and mental health.
Yeah.
And they do
That's right.
fantastic work. They are top of the notch, cutting edge, really good. I've heard them present, and I'm like, wow, if I was
Right.
younger, I would want to go work with them because they are so well.
But it's becoming
but it's
familiar
not
with them.
it's not a Franklin Township, go there for,
Correct.
for mental health
Right.
services to whoever needs it, or, it's limited in their focus.
Right, well, yeah, thank you so much.
Any
you,
other
Donna.
questions?
Thank you very much.
Anybody
Just
else?
one quick question before I that. So are there groups that people can join if they have mental health? Like, alcoholic, what do we call
Well, there's
that?
Nomini, that what
National
we're trying to
Alliance
do
for
is we're
Mental
trying to see if we
No, I'm talking about in Franklin. Do we have like several groups that people
No.
belong?
No. What we do have, and I found out that the one now, the NAMI family meeting is in Bridgewater, back at Richard Hall in person. It was on Zoom until just recently, years later. So there is not a group in Franklin, no. But people can go to Bridgewater for that program.
Any plan to create some groups in Franklin?
It's a volunteer. NAMI is all volunteer. It's no pay. No paid professionals running it.
Right.
And so there's a woman named Sue Ferranti who is the Somerset NAMI contact person, and she's very overloaded, and I think she's running that one group a month in Bridgewater. So,
Okay,
Yeah.
Donna, thank you so much.
Oh, you're entirely
Any other
welcome.
questions?
Thank you.
You got a question?
I am going to pass around here. This is another youth. It says suicide warning signs for youth.
There you go.
But it's also really good. It applies for adults as well. And mental health first aid. We had 2 trainings. They went very well received. If you ever have a chance to take a mental health first aid course,
was
it teaches
excellent.
you kind of about the types of mental illness, and then how do you respond to somebody who might be in a crisis or needs some help. So that's really good, and we're.
We know that the HRC is here to help you.
Right, well, that's what I put on that page, which I hope you got yours back, are some ways that you can help.
Yes, I did.
And to be honest, it would be great at some point if HRC could partner and say, let's get this expert psychiatrist who's from South Asian background to come and give a talk, and do that. Or let's have the expert on, who might speak in Spanish to some family. Would they, but I think our South Asian community would maybe come if we said, this might not be for you, but maybe your neighbor, or maybe your son's college roommate someday might need this. Because that way it wouldn't be like, well, I don't need this, but yeah, if I can help my neighbor, then maybe I would come to such an event,
Okay, we thank you, obviously.
You've been waiting a long time for us to come, right?
No, it's okay.
No, it's all right.
It took a
Thank you
while.
so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm gonna sit over here as a fly on the ointment and listen to some more of your meeting.
Okay, fine.
Oh, terrific.
A member of the public. You're welcome to stay if you want to, Donna.
I didn't know I was allowed to.
Sure.
This is an open meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, let's continue this a little bit. I don't know where our policeman is. I haven't heard from him, so he's missing. Edna indicated that she told me about a week ago that she couldn't come, but I don't remember, so she texted me. A couple of things now. We have a new HRC commissioner, which the council approved last evening, Samina Sattar, Samina Sattar. She's out of town tonight. However, the council, thanks to Alex, had her okayed last evening. Nora and I looked at her resume, which was excellent. Alex knew her from before, so I believe she'll be an excellent addition to our HRC. I am concerned about one of our commissioners, and I will talk to Alex about John Samba. He was ill, but this is the 5th meeting that he hasn't been here, so I'm going to have to call him, and if he's not interested, we're going to have to replace him, Alex, but we'll talk to him first before we... Okay,
Should I recommend a name now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay,
To get yours in.
the Kmart Shopping Center was supposed to be heard by the zoning board last week, but the attorney contacted us, and that will not be heard, I think, until January 16th.
Oh, Lord, I'm ready.
So, that's what's going on. The project that Edna was working on with the flags, we did talk to Alex. Alex suggested that we talk to the township manager. The township manager told we should talk to Safri, and I believe Edna has contacted Safri, so we'll meet with her and we'll get that going. This Sunday, and I talked to Alex about this today, he can comment some further, that there's a Palestinian cultural event. And I did have some calls to make sure that this is not a political event. And Alex and Sammy and some other people assured me that this is not a political event. And Alex, you want to make a couple of comments on that, please?
Sure. So 11 days ago, as you know, we had the Diwali in our township. We celebrated. So a group of community members have come together and they have been working on this, as I understand, for the last couple of months to have a cultural event for Palestinians. So they went through of course, the park commissioner to get the permission at Colonial Park, and the township also. Came township. They got the permission for special events, and last night the council approved to have this event. And if you look at the flyer, basically, let me just this is. They have a lot of free workshops, free kids activities, free giveaways. They're going to have Palestinian product vendors, and they have some guest speakers, film screenings, some performances. This event has been sponsored by the Interfaith Council, and they also brought to Gary's attention, and Gary said that that's fine. The HRC also can be a sponsor. So it is. I was talking to Gary, and I told him that this is a great example that shows and reaffirms that in our township we respect one another, we respect other people's culture, and we enjoy each other. Even though there are conflicts and so forth, but we don't bring those conflicts back home. We wanted to make sure that everybody knows that Franklin is a place that everybody is valued, respected, and if they have some cultural things that they want to show, people can go and enjoy. So come with your children, come with your friends. It's going to be a very good event and a lot of free stuff, a lot of cultural stuff, so hopefully everybody will enjoy.
And did again?
It is this Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. Right, and they have a lot of vendors, games, and all these things for the kids. So I think it will be a great event. The weather looks like it's pretty good. It's going to be very nice.
And the council has assured
Where
me
is it gonna be?
they will not be speaking.
What's that?
Colonial Park?
Colonial Park. Yeah.
The council has assured me after my telephone calls, they will not be speaking. Sammy Shaban, who's on the Board of Education, and also he will be speaking, and he's assured me that this will not be any political thing. So.
Right, this is a cultural event, so
that would be good.
Right. I have also had this idea that I'm going to be talking more with Steve Dahl and Stephen Dahl and also the township manager about, we have a great Franklin Day, right? And we have 70 house of worship, more than 70 different languages are spoken in our schools. imagine that we will give the opportunity for people to have a showcase of their culture. Each one will have a tent and then show some examples of their culture and food, music, whatever. So tent after tent. So, imagine Ukrainian, Russians, Palestinian, the Jewish, Israelis, and you name it, right? All of them have their own, and we go one by one and enjoy them. So imagine what a beautiful thing will be to show our unity and respect for one another. So hopefully, again, I'm going to follow up and see if that's something that we can perhaps form a small committee. Like we have a HRC committee, we have a committee that is for promoting or helping the cultural activities in our township events in Franklin Day.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
One of the things, as I mentioned to you, is that when
I'd like to welcome Michelle Peterson, who always comes, but she's not a member of the HRC, but we always like to have her come. And we welcome.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Peter.
That's Miss Michelle Peterson.
Thank you, Gary.
And I know who she is.
Have any questions?
You were saying something.
I actually do, but I want to hear.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think it's a great idea, and the fact is that our committee is so, we can't get to all those events. Everybody has an event coming up, and we're just stretched so thin, but it's a great idea where everybody comes together one day. So probably more of an emphasizing that it is Franklin Community Day, but see if we can get all the cultural
That
groups
was the
there.
whole idea.
Because you're 100% right, because all the events, a lot of events are on Saturday and Sunday, the individual cultural events, and we all know that, we're just not going to be able to make it. And then you don't want to slight anyone.
Right.
By going to one and then you have to go to another and things, then you feel bad. So I think I don't know if you have a committee for.
Not yet, I'm just talking about it right now.
Do you have a committee that puts the event together, a community film?
Yeah, well, there is, like
Okay.
for the Franklin Day, but
Yeah,
my
right.
thought was.
But then a subcommittee
Will be a committee in the township that we form, which is the cultural committee. There's a cultural art,
Arts, right.
right? But this is the bring in different cultures together, and then we will have definitely HRC will play a role there, and then we can have a representative from HRC, maybe the Interface Council, and
Maybe not charge
different cultures,
Not
different
charge
people.
them for that day.
Right.
And,
And then they can work during the year to, the peak will be during the Franklin Day, where people will have.
If there's anyone on the
Gary, there's one other thing I wanted to say. Event.
Share that question. And I have a few other things from the council that I will share.
just a minute. So if there is anyone with the HRC that would like to be on this committee, let me know to represent the HRC with the Interfaith Council. If you're interested, just let me know. Michelle, you had a question.
The HRC sponsors the event, is that what you said? You were looking
Yeah,
at the
it's one of
flyer.
the sponsors, the HRC, the Interface Council, and HRC, and
Sponsor means
others.
that you just support it.
Yeah,
You don't give
support.
money to it. You
No,
just
there's no
pocket.
money is
I
involved.
just wondered how it works.
Yeah.
How it
So,
works.
correct.
Gotcha.
So, well, that's an excellent question. So they raise the money from individuals and the vendors. There's like, I believe there's 40 or some vendors. They charge vendors and so forth. So, yeah.
Ronnie, go ahead.
No, I was just told that there is a Halloween party going on for the kids down at John's Plaza Park down on Hamilton Street.
That's on Saturday. This
That's on
Saturday.
Saturday. Since you didn't mention that, I thought I would mention that.
Be there, we're having a stigma-free, is doing
is that the one at the youth center?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be, I
The
think
youth
Off
it's-
Hamilton.
Yeah.
No, off Hamilton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then there is the one on Youth.
Parking lot where the old-
5 o'clock.
Two separate events.
Yes.
Two separate.
It's for the kids in the John's Plaza, yes.
That was announced last night.
Correct. So,
Go ahead, Alex.
Right.
two
So you
other
didn't do it
things that the council that might be interest to you. So there was an ordinance on the second reading, basically adoption, about limiting the number of cannabis stores, dispensaries, to 18. Alright, so, right now in our township, we have 10 that they're open. There are 8 that they have the permission, the building construction permission, building permission. And there's going to be, I believe, 5 that they have the license and they're going to apply. So altogether 23.
That was a big discussion.
However,
Yes,
the
it was.
council have decided or have agreed to limit to 18. So if any of them go out of business, they're not just going to be replacing them until that. So that's one. And the second thing, this was on the introduction actually, on the first reading, is about the noise. You know, we get a lot of, police department gets a lot of complaints about the noise. And what they used to do is they have this decimeter, that decibel meter, that it goes and they take it, they measure it. It requires calibration, somebody got to be trained in using it. It was pretty much impossible to have a practical way. So this new ordinance basically, it states that if it's within 200 feet, it's okay. But if you are beyond 200 feet and you can hear the noise, the police basically assumes that it's noisy and they can, write a ticket, whatever, they talk to the people. But that is going to be adopted also if during the next meeting will be the second reading. Yes, John?
Yes, some of the citizens in the area in which these cannabis stores are in, is there any particular reason or thoughts behind why they're all in the fourth ward?
They are not actually on the fourth floor.
Well, most of them are.
We have, well, not most
No,
of it
yes,
either.
they are. Don't tell me what I know where they are. And we don't like all them cannabis stores in the
You're talking about
only
the Hamilton-
block area.
Hamilton-
All of them, yeah.
Right. No, actually, John, I have the list of where they are located.
Yeah, okay. You find out
They
what
are-
about
they are about
what
six-
at now?
I think there are altogether, as I understand.
Where they all
there's
at?
going to be 6 of them in that area. The rest
I'm just
of them.
telling you what the citizens don't like all the cannabis stores in the fourth ward. That's all they're expressing their.
That's-
They have
okay.
quite a concern about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know,
That-
because they don't have no
that's-
jobs, they want everybody to be stealing and robbing each other. That way they can go to jail. We think it's planned that way. That's what they're saying, it's planned that way.
No, I don't think,
Did you leave it custody? Because
I was there last night.
you're not, though.
Oh, yeah, when they was having all that.
So I'm sure it came up at
Yeah.
the.
Yes.
Has the ordinance for the 18, the limit been passed yet, or is it?
so
gonna
this
come-
was the second one, so it was adopted,
Okay.
right? But again, yeah,
Oh, it was adopted.
this
okay.
was the second reading, and, adoption of ordinances on second reading. So it was adopted, yeah.
Alex, I had something I wanted to address with you as council. We're getting,
Oh,
we're
okay.
getting a lot of complaints about, the Amazon trucks, the postal trucks parking on the wrong side of the street to make deliveries. So especially up and down Winston, on a lot of the streets there in the Fifth Ward is what they're, the people are complaining about. So the Amazon, I even said it to the guy the other day, do you realize that's the wrong side of the street to be parked? Oh, well, I just wanted to run. No, you cannot do that. And then you start out, now you're in oncoming traffic. It's not safe. People are walking across the street, now they're going in the opposite direction.
You have to call the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, thank you, Linda. Issues like that, the best option is to call the police. And then, they come and they give ticket. They really not supposed the trucks. They're not supposed to be parking on the shoulders, and of course the wrong side.
The
Definitely
postal-
violation as
The
well.
postal truck did the other day. I was standing outside and I'm like, I know the postal truck is not parking on the wrong side of the street. And yes, he was.
Was it?
As I said, the best option is the police,
You have to
really.
call the police. Too bad the police was not here, because you always.
Right,
you-
yeah,
you-
that was something I wanted to
Because
bring
you
up
always
with
tell the
you.
police.
Yeah.
Okay, we do not have
Push
a,
it.
we do not have a meeting in November because of Thanksgiving. Next scheduled meeting is the
December, oh, yeah.
Is there anything, I did want to announce we have a subcommittee now with Laura, Pete, and Edna working on a new HRC brochure, and hopefully that'll be ready soon, so we can have that published through the township. We'll speak to Alex or Anne Marie, maybe. And then, I gave you the one we had last time, maybe work off there.
We'll share it with everybody next meeting.
Maybe the subcommittee can have that finalized by our next meeting. Anything else?
She has something. I just have a quick question. You said there was an opening on the council. How was it advertised to the township? How do the 70,000 people in Franklin Township know about not just the HRC, but to be honest, every board in town? But I'll just.
I can answer that if I may.
The council?
So if you go,
The committee.
the
Oh,
committee,
committee.
yeah. So if you go to our website, on each committee or board of advisory, you look at it, they tell you, it shows how many vacancies you have. And then you can apply. So that data is there. The second one is, of course, the word of mouth, right? So, for example, if you know someone who's interested to a particular committee or commission or board, you can just ask them. All they have to do is just fill out a simple citizenship form, and then attach their resume. And then what happens that then it comes to the council. We get a copy of it, we review it, and then different committees and commissions, they do it differently. Like in HRC, Gary usually reviews them as well, and he will say, look, I recommend, I'm okay with this, that. Then we will bring it up after the council members agreed. We will bring it up to the make a motion, and then that will be the end of it. And then again, Anne Marie will inform the person, and then we'll go there. Others, they don't do that. They just want to cancel, basically make the decision, and the council will make the recommendation and approval. So,
When you recommended Sam, you recommended him to me, and then we contacted him, and he became a commissioner.
Yes, but there are 70,000 people that live in this town. And if you don't advertise that there's an opening, if you don't say, or on the township website, because I bet you, if you go to the HRC council right now, I bet you it's not going to show that there's an opening. And there is.
Yes, it does.
It does?
It does, yeah.
Okay, well, I
So
certainly.
it is the
Most
responsibility,
people do, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
it is the responsibility of the leader of each committee, check the website, and if it's not up to date, they need to inform Anne Marie, and she will update it right away.
Okay.
Most people who do want to volunteer to go on that, that's what they do. They go on. I can tell you from other towns,
So
that's what they do.
It would really be up to the citizen.
Exactly.
You
I
have
mean,
to
because
search it out.
exactly, because some, there's some prestigious ones like being on the planning board and things like that. Those are kind of like more picked. You know what I mean? In that sense, not that they're not voted on,
That's
but
right.
I mean, well,
I mean, that's what you're.
well,
that's what
that's
we're
up
doing.
to
That's what
that's
we're
up to the
doing
mayor.
for.
I'm not the mayor of the council. That's up to them. I'm just saying, moving into a town, I went onto the website. I was at cultural arts. I went to cultural arts, say for example, and it showed what openings. Now, are they all updated? I can't tell you that much, but
No, I
but
can-
there's quite a few of them. If you go on, there's about 20, 25 committees, and then there's other committees, subcommittees. Actually, Stigma Free is not on there yet because they're official.
It's not an open public meeting.
Exactly. So it's really up to the individual person, and out of the 70,000, I can tell you, there's probably about 50,000 aren't interested in volunteering.
But there might be 20,000 that are. That
And that's
have
right, that's what
no
they have.
idea that there's an
And guess
opening.
what, if they have a passion, they'll do it.
And Michelle, just to be fair, for every opportunity that we get, even in a council meeting, at least myself in the last 8-9 months that I have been with the council, at least 3-4 times, I've mentioned that, it's a great opportunity. We have so many commissions and so forth. Please look at it, their availability, come and join. Yeah.
We do have social media.
Not all the time, my buddy.
I mean, some
people appoint.
townships have their own TV channel, and they post on their TV channels the openings, you know what I mean? On different committees down there too, so, right, Alex, do we have our own TV, right? So that you can also, I don't know if they do, but that's another way of getting it out there, so if you see it scroll down, you say, hey, I'm interested in that, that's another way of getting it.
But what I'm trying to say is on this, a new person, she contacted me and she said, I'm interested in coming on the HRC.
Wow, that's unusual.
So you have a few people that are leaders.
It says, at the council meeting, he always indicates there's an opening on this committee, so. But
I just think social media is such a great way, and our township has a great site, and I know the Recreation Board has a great site, and they put their openings on. But we had this conversation even in the rec board that I serve on, that it's all, do we know anybody that wants to serve on the committee?
Right.
Like Johnny said, he has somebody that he wants to serve, and how did your person get in and not his person, he was saying. So we all have these, and it gets to be this closed loop group instead of maybe just putting it on social media. And, maybe there's a parent out there that wants to.
if you're here, the HRC, let me know. You and I.
Okay. I know our rec committee is not up to date, so.
Another suggestion from one of the public, that could make an interesting Franklin Times, like information article, because I agree with you that it's a closed group that really knows and gets involved. If you're interested in your community, you get involved, but wouldn't that be interesting?
Sure,
How
I
are
think
people
that newspaper, quarterly newspaper you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
I can ask Seffi. I'll suggest that talk to Anne Marie, find out the opening and list the openings. Yeah, it's a good idea too. So I will mention that to her.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Go ahead.
Well, no, this is.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
My question is that I had gone on the website of Franklin Township, and I had done the citizen, questionnaire or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then it says, attach a resume.
Correct. Right.
And I didn't, because when you're disabled for as long as I am, I do have some work experience, but what am I going to put down?
Well, resume, you don't have to put a lot of things down. You can have a very short resume, your address, your contact information, whatever, your work experience. You might say, okay, I'm just housewife, as an example, or I'm unemployed. The people are not going to be, what they are looking is to see if anybody has any experience. Let's say you are applying for cultural art or environmental protection. They want to see if you have some experience, that you can bring some experience to that group. So if you're interested to any of them, there is a reason that you're interested, right? So
Right.
either you have some experience or you wanted to somehow contribute in any way. The key is how you can contribute. Key is if you have experience, share with us. So when you come in, they know a little bit about your background.
Oh, because we have a committee, we actually have a committee for certain positions that you interview with us, so.
That's a zoning,
So if
that's a
it's
planning.
a zoning,
That's-
planning.
the zoning and planning.
The mayor,
You have to
the
interview.
council people interviewed with us, so.
And that's a little bit, you're right, but most of them, there's really no interview
That's the
involved.
planning and zoning.
How many vacancies should show for now? How many vacancies should show for right now? One
Thank you.
For me?
for HRC.
I don't know, we
Now it shows one.
we have one, right?
Well, it shows 0
And
on, I'm looking right now, it shows none.
I might have another one.
They just filled it.
I saw one today.
They just filled it,
One
yeah,
filled.
last night.
So Anne Marie updated it today?
I don't know.
Wow, well, that'll be That would
Zero to the.
never
to the-
happen for me when I've asked.
Okay, anything else? And if not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Have a nice Thanksgiving.
Second?
And we'll meet again on December 18th. By that time, we should have a new brochure, hopefully.
You ever see me type?
Thank you all.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Larry.